Hey guys, Phil Baumhart here. So for today's video, I'm going to be making this little neck knife here. And in all honesty, this was not the knife that I set out to make when I started forging it out. As many of my knives do, it started out life as a coil spring. And my intention was to make another long-bladed Scrammus axe. And at first everything was going good. Had a nice narrow tang, blade was taking shape nicely. And then this happened. Ah! So, after all that work, rather than scrap the whole project, I decided to salvage what I could. So I took the very end of the knife and decided to make that into a neck knife. The blade was almost complete, so it was just a matter of putting in the last finishing touches. I tried extending the tang a bit, but the melted steel was pretty weak, and then I ended up with just a short nub for the tang. The rest of the process was pretty straightforward for me. I used my bench grinder to put in the rough bevel and clean up the blade profile. I did have to use my tongs to hold onto the blade. I just didn't feel safe holding onto it with only my fingers. So for the handle, I split down an ash log and carved it to crude shape with my burglar axe. To get the final shape, I locked it in the vise, carved it down with my little chisels. And to fit the tang to the handle, I sawed in a little groove so that nub would fit in there. I decided to hold it all together with rivet pins. And when it came time for me to drill the holes, I realized I hadn't annealed the blade, so it was impossible to drill through. So once I went back and annealed it, I was able to get those holes in without any problem. Alright, so here's what the handle's looking like after 5 coats of stain. And what I'm going to do now is let it soak in some linseed oil here. I'm just going to drop that right in there. And I'll leave that in there for a little bit and let that just soak up a bunch of linseed oil. So at this point the blade has been quenched and tempered. And now I'm just putting in the final edge bevel with the work sharp grinder. Okay, so I cut out my brass pins and put it through the knife. I kind of just assembled this so that I would be able to sharpen the knife and have something to hang on to, and it was just sort of to test it out, see how well it fit. It was such a struggle to get the pins in. I'm just going to leave them in. I'm not going to use any glue or anything. I'm just going to kind of, I'll probably just peen these over just a little bit. But other than that, I'm not really gonna touch them. Okay, so here's a look at the finished knife with the scabbard. I just got a bit of paracord on there so I can throw it over my neck. I'm not really a big fan of the neck knife concept, but what I do like to do sometimes is I'll tie this onto my belt, and then I'll just drop this in my pocket. And then that way I've always got an example of my work on me. That's kind of been one of my favorite parts about this knife. But the blade came out super sharp. I'm really happy with the edge there. So that's always nice to show people. I've been using a little bit, so it's got some wear and tear on it. But one advantage to having that short little tang like that is that it's very lightweight. You know, it's just you got the weight of the blade, but there's nothing in the handle there. And it's a short handle, but it's comfortable enough that I can do whatever it is I want to do. I mean, it's not a knife fighting knife or anything crazy like that. It's held up just fine as far as strength and durability goes. I mean, there's no wobble in that blade. I mean, this riveted design like this, the ancient Greeks were using this. The Mycenaeans, they're casting bronze swords and daggers, and a lot of those weapons had handles riveted on just like this. And I mean, they were using those in battles and whatnot. So it's a strong design, old design, and one that was kind of an accident, but I'm happy it turned out that way. Shout out to my buddy Grizz9999. It was actually his idea in the first place to make a neck knife. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be more Viking.